All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be doing a update on Trias. I was set to cover potentially a couple different coins, Polygon being one of them, but given that Trias kind of had this semi-parabolic run up here recently, I think given some of your comments and feedback, it would make sense to cover Trias for my next video and then jump into some of those other recommendations you guys had later this week. So let's dive right in. We're going to do short-term, long-term price predictions, some chart analysis, and then cover a couple of bullish news items for Trias. So jumping right in here, quickly cover how we got to where we're at. If you can see here, we have the daily chart, the daily candle chart with the 50, 100, and 200 day moving averages up here. You can see right here, cup and handle formed. You can make the case for that on the daily. We pop out of that, and that has led to our bullish continuation pattern popping out of that cup and handle right here, as you can see. And so now as we've kind of progressed up this bullish continuation pattern, it's important to recognize a couple patterns. First of all, we see a breakout above. First of all, this all started with a convincing consolidation above $9.40 right here. We see this consolidate, and then it pops up, pops above, consolidate for a couple days, pops up, consolidate for a couple days. Now we're up above $17. We consolidate. And what recently just happened is we're coming off about of a week of consolidation between $17 and $20.70. And so that has led to this kind of recent pump from $20-ish all the way up to $25, $26. And so that's kind of how we've ended up where we are now, kind of the pattern that we're seeing in terms of chart analysis. And now I kind of want to briefly touch on a couple items for short-term price predictions. So like I said before, with this continuation pattern, we've seen a lot of consolidation between key fib levels. Right here, as you can see, right here, as you can see, and then a little bit here. And you can see that started to happen here as well. And then we broke out above that, as I said before. But now what we're going to be looking for is a potential convincing consolidation above this 25.67 level. So if we can come up here and establish a convincing support. So what I mean by that is, a daily candle, maybe a couple daily candles, how we have here, or how have we done here and here. So similar to that, we kind of want to see some consolidation above that 25.67 level. And then once we consolidate above that, so that's what we're looking for, in the next 2 to 3 days. So keep an eye out for consolidation above 25.67. That's one of these key fib levels right here. But once we do that and we prove that that's kind of our new support, then if we can do that, our next resistance technically becomes this previous all-time high of about $32. So then we're going to kind of expect Trias to play between these two and then hopefully eventually consolidate enough between these two to break this $32 all-time high. And then once we break that $32 all-time high, we're looking at a, and so what I mean by break that, I mean break convincingly above multiple daily candles and then holding that level and then holding that level as solid support. So what I mean is that we want this to happen instead of this, because then we'd have to come back and test, this 25.67 level, which we're trying to fight right now. And as you can see, we're clearly trying to battle that and consolidate around that right now. But getting back to what I was saying, once we break past that all-time high, and I've gotten a lot of questions about this because obviously after this 25.67 level, the next obvious level is 32, which is our previous all-time high. But once we break that, our next target is just above $50. So if we establish support here, it's very, very likely that we, over at least a week or so, probably play between these two fib levels, eventually coming to test this as a new resistance, and we'll probably, hug this for a little and then hopefully break past that. and that's when things can start to get interesting. But past our all-time high of $32, our next target would be $50. So in the next few weeks, move that fib by accident. In the next few weeks, we're looking for support established at 25.67. And then once support established, we're looking for a breaking resistance of $32, which is the previous all-time high. After we establish this support, we are then looking for a push up to $50. And that's kind of the short-term, next couple weeks to a month play. And now we can kind of get into what we're looking at for longer term. And so if you have, watched this channel before, you know that we always like to go off what we've seen before. So going from our previous low last year all the way to our all-time high, it was about a 47x. And so if we're going to mirror what we did last time in our parabolic run-up, let's take that exact math over here. So if we're going to call this our, new all-time low after this all-time high run-up of $32, we'll mark this around 2.4 cents, $2.40, excuse me. A 47x from there would put us at around $112. So $112 is what we'd be seeing if we had the same exact run up from our last parabolic movement earlier this year. So that would be from this point specifically running this way. And so if we had that exact 47x movement, it'd be 112. It's very, very common that we extend a little bit further than that on our second run up. So, something between 112 and 127 seems pretty reasonable given that our final stop on the fib extension from our most recent high to low is about $127. So it's very, very likely that end of cycle, and this is obviously conservative. I know a lot of news is coming out obviously about their mainnet, recently hired CEO of Japan operations. A lot's going on for Trias, but from a TA perspective, an end of cycle price prediction would probably be between these fib levels right here. So I would say we're likely playing between 112 and 127 by the end of the cycle conservatively. Obviously, just based on TA, Trias has amazing fundamentals, which we'll get into in a couple minutes here. But from basic TA, we're looking at somewhere between $112 and $127 for the cycle. And that again is if we replicate what we've done before, which a lot of the times we like to do with technical analysis. So now that we've kind of covered that, again, just kind of want to remind you for short term, our key levels are 25.67. That's the fib level we're battling right now. After that, we want to establish that as new support. Then our new resistance becomes that previous all-time high of $32. And then past that, our next key level is $50. So for all of you Trias bag holders, those are the key numbers to be watching right now. And since we have covered those price predictions and a little bit of that chart analysis, I want to dive into some of the recent bullish news on Trias. First of all, I think it's important to get an idea of why all of these partnerships are happening, why there's so much buzz around Trias. And we can just take a quick look at their technical specs. So compared to a lot of their kind of most common competitors, look at this transactions per second, almost 3 times faster than any of their competitors. The contract language is just general software APIs, so it can communicate with basically any form of data. And you see that here reflected. Any data can be processed through Trias. So this always becomes a big question with some of these smaller gems when they move into partnering with some of these big corporations. It's how easy can these corporations start using their data with the technology? Because the longer that takes and the harder that is, that's more spend and more time and cost that the company has to then take on to use these technologies. So Trias makes it super easy to integrate with that. Obviously, very, very low supply at 10 million, and they're very, very attack proof and very, very secure compared to their competitors. So just something as a general background to understand of why people are finding this technology so interesting. The other thing I wanted to quickly cover is they do these really cool project weekly updates. And this is the most recent one. So obviously, if you've been following them, you saw that they announced a CEO of Japan. This is mainly to start kind of expanding their influence globally. So taking it past China and starting to establish these partnerships like with Mitsubishi that we've seen recently, and kind of expand their global partnerships with other corporations. But right now, they're partnering with Mitsubishi, Huawei, the semiconductor company in China, the Chinese government as well. But the other kind of interesting tidbit that's pretty bullish in this weekly report is the fact that the total number of wallet addresses that are holding Trias have been increasing very, very quickly. And so even though increasing by 316 wallets in a week doesn't really seem that significant, it is on a percentage basis, considering that Trias still has under 4,000 active wallets that are currently holding the token. So given that, we're seeing growth between 300 and 400 wallet addresses a week is pretty interesting. And I think it just speaks to the fact that this is popping up on more people's radars, especially over the last month, as it's really started to pump. So that's kind of all I had prepared for you guys today. Obviously, Trias, I love it long term. I hold a decent amount of it as well. But I think those are kind of some key things to watch out for. Appreciate you guys watching to the end. If you guys got value out of it, would love a like. And of course, always free to kind of take up recommendations on what coins I should cover next. But thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.